Good morning. I'm going to go ahead and get started here. I want to thank everybody for sitting in on today's webinar. What we're going to cover today is the Trimble V10 Imaging Rover, along with the Trimble S-Series total stations with Trimble VISION. To start off, the Trimble V10 Imaging Rover. What it is a 360-degree panoramic camera that can either be used standalone or it can be used along with multiple sensors. Shown in the picture here, we've got the Trimble R10 GNSS receiver, and then there's a 360 prism on top of the V10 for use with our robotic total stations. So the sensor itself, once again, can be used standalone, so we can go out and actually utilize the V10 and a tablet to just collect panoramas for future workflows. It is a 12 camera system. There are 7 cameras that will face upwards and 5 cameras that point downward away from the end user. It has built-in tilt sensors, so we can actually do photos with the rod tilted for like underneath bridges and viaducts. It has a magnetic compass, so when used as a standalone sensor, we actually can utilize keyed-in coordinates to define where you are located at in the field. It has been drop tested 2 meters, and it has the IP54 environmental protection. So here's how it works. Once again, we have 7 panoramic cameras that overlap when it takes the photos, and then 5 downward. So we'll be taking pictures pointing downward. We won't be getting pictures of ourselves, but up top we'll get all 7 of these cameras. It creates a 60 megapixel picture. For the field software end, we're just using Trimble Access, operating on a Trimble Tablet. We use a tablet because it can handle the large file sizes better than a TSC3 or TSC2 would. And it's a pretty simple workflow. You're just going to be in measure points, and once you are connected to the V10, it'll show up on your right side of the screen along with your other sensors. We just put a check in the box if we want to actually take a photo of the project. We do have a live video feed, so you can see where the camera is pointing. Typically it would be off of the upper 7 cameras, but you can switch back and forth, so if you want to see stuff to make sure you're locating something below you like a manhole, that can be switched around as well. The main workflow that we'll be bringing everything into would be into Trimble Business Center. That's kind of our powerhouse, where we're bringing these images in and doing more of the work with the photos as far as creating photo points and stuff like that. I'll be going through that here shortly with some of the data that I've collected with both the V10 and with Trimble Vision robots. We can export these photos into JPEGs or HTML files, so we can actually do live walkthrough type of situations with these photos once they're collected. And we can also create a Google Earth KMZ. So how does it work? So what we want to typically do is have a pretty good survey workflow going in the field where you're actually looking at the objects you want to collect photos of and kind of getting a good geometry of where we're standing to the points we want to collect, and kind of measuring these panoramics in kind of a staggered direction. We typically don't want to do a straight line. We want to kind of offset them a little bit. So you kind of have to look at your job site and what you want to collect data and what you might want to use the photo points for. So the big question is, how accurate is it? The standard specifications for the V10 are 1 centimeter for a distance of 10 meters, so a couple hundredths every 30 feet, and it's gradual from that point on, 2 centimeters, 20 meters, and 3 centimeters at 30 meters. It all really depends on your geometry, though. Once again, where the point we want to create and from where we're standing, we want to have a good triangulation here. If we want to locate a point way over here, this typically would not be a good workflow, so we'd want to probably have another photo point over here, so then we can tie down this point here. Field practices are very important. Moving into the vision aspect of our total stations, the S series, so that would be a Trimble S6, S8, and the Trimble VX robot all have vision capabilities. So we're going to do kind of the same type of workflow with our vision instruments, where we're going to look at the project and possibly take photos of areas where we might not be able to reach, if there's a fence we can't get over, or maybe a power pole that we want to locate and we can't get to the top of it, or cell towers and stuff like that. So kind of just look at our job site and see what we want to locate with these photos. And it's a pretty simple procedure on the robotic side or total station side. Obviously, we want to be able to pick up what the instrument sees. So if you're looking at the site with your eyes, you will also box out that area with the robot as well. Anything you take photos of can be brought into Trimble Business Center and create photo points. So the workflow robotically would be to be on a known control point, take a photo of a building or an image that we want to actually create points on. We're going to want to do it from at least 2 setups. So now we can bring this information into Trimble Business Center and you can kind of triangulate a position based off of the photos. So the Trimble portfolio, and I'm not really going to go into our UAVs today, but once again, that is also part of the vision portfolio would be our aerial UAVs. But we're going to kind of go into Trimble Business Center now and talk about the stationary, our total stations, and then what we can actually do with the V10 itself in TBC. I've already got a project created and opened up in Trimble Business Center just to save a little time here this morning. So this is just a sample of a bridge that I located, and we see over here on our plan view that we have, I've got about 7 photo points I took. This particular project took me maybe 5-10 minutes in the field, from pulling the V10 out and actually used it with an R10 GNSS rover through the VRS. So total time in the field was about 10 minutes. And what we did here was we just staggered some shots and brought this data into Trimble Business Center, and then we actually had to adjust our photo station. So anytime we are bringing data in, whether it's standalone V10 or it's with a GNSS sensor, we actually have to process the photos. It kind of like if any of you have ever scanned, it's kind of doing like a process with scanning, where we're kind of tying these photos together, stitching them together into a specific coordinate system. I've already processed the photos. This particular 7/8 station process time took me about 5-10 minutes. So once again, I'm going to save a little time on that. We can do multiple processing aspects to that. We can do either an automatic process where the software will look for common pixels in each one of the images and process it out for me, or we can do a manual process. So if I had targets on the project, I can actually pick those targets and tell it that each one of the targets from each photo were the same point. Or we can do a combined process, so we can do manual and automatic adjustment. Sometimes that ties it down a little bit quicker. We can run a manual adjustment off a couple targets and then run the automatic, and it saves a little time. So just to show you what happens when I did an automatic process, it creates these tie points. So if I turn the tie points on, you can see that it found several common pixels in all these different photos, you know, hundreds and hundreds of points. If I turn those observations off, kind of the cool thing about this is it actually creates these points. So if we look at our photo, this bridge, I've got points already created for me. So if I've got to do create photo points and I want to actually tie down this bridge and possibly draft it, I might not necessarily need to create photo points at certain positions on this bridge because they've already been created for me. So if I go into my my point spreadsheet, see all these different points that I created in here, and I can change the layers that they're on. So my actual ground shots that I shot with the V10 and the R10, they're on a points layer. The actual photo points or the tie points are on a tie point layer, but I can easily go in here and I can go into my properties of a tie point and I can change the layer and just send them over to a points layer and export them out. So once again, that's kind of a cool way to go in and view that stuff before we actually start creating photo points, because they may already be there for us. So turn those back off. So once again, I've located my bridge, and we can see over here in our plan view the two photo stations that I'm viewing right now are 105 and 106 here. And we have these cones, and this is the view of where we're looking at. And you can see if I zoom in and zoom out on 106 here, that the cone gets bigger and smaller. It just kind of gives you an idea of where you're looking in the photo itself. Also, what we could do, and I've created this, I actually did a geo-reference from Google Earth and tied that in as well. So we can see inside here that our photo points, where they're looking at the bridge, it kind of just gives you a little bit of an overlay of what the project is looking at here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a photo point somewhere on this abutment here. We have a V10 workflow in our TBC ribbon. Your ribbons, if you guys are running Trimble Business Center, they would probably look a little different than mine. These are customizable. So the V10 and the bridge inspection ribbons, you can import yourself just into the ribbon options in the top of your Trimble Business Center. So I'm going to go in here in my V10 workflow, and I'm going to measure a photo point. So if I select measure photo point, over here we have the option now to give it a point ID. So all we're doing is going to give it a point number. I'm going to call this 2000. And I'm going to change the layer. I don't really want this on my points layer, but however, we can definitely keep that on there. But I like to actually create one called a photo point. That way I know it's something that I actually picked in the office and not necessarily located something in the field. If we had a feature code library, we could actually turn that on as well. So if we were doing auto line work, we can actually go in here and process our feature codes and save us a lot of time in the office as well drawing this stuff. But for right now, I'm just going to leave that off. We're going to come down to our pixel picker here. So we click on the box for our pixel picker. You can see on my mouse, I've got a little square that pops up. I like using this tool, however, we can change it. It was Control-Shift. So we've got more of a target view now. Scroll in and out and view different things. However, I like using this little box because what will happen is when I pick on one of the I want to locate, I click on it and it zooms in for me. So all I'm trying to look for here is a pixel that I can identify in one of the other photos. Trimble Business Center also has this automatic search for observations option, and what this is we call it virtual DR. So what it's going to do is after I pick my location on my photo, it's going to look through all the other photo stations that I have and try to find a common pixel and create that point for me. So it's kind of a time saver, so I don't have to open up several different station views and constantly click in the same area. It's gonna also avoid any error in my photo. So if I click right now, you'll see it process over here, and it's automatically searching for other observations. So what it found was it found the same pixel in 1004 as 1006 and 1007. So from there, I'm just going to go ahead and compute. And we'll see point number 2000 was created. So if we go and look over here, we can see it's in both views. It's in our plan view and in our photo itself. And from here in the office, all we're going to do is keep clicking on different areas of the bridge that we're going to want to locate. So what it's saving is it's obviously saving time in the field. This project, once again, took me about 5-10 minutes. There's obviously going to be more time spent in the office. However, sometimes it's easier for the drafter to see the job site and be able to draw stuff with a full photo of what they're looking at here. And it also would probably save some time as far as the field procedures go, possibly locating more than what is needed. You know, if a drafter can look at this and go, okay, all I need is the endpoints, maybe one on the bridge up here, or if I'm locating this curb line, I just need my PCs and PTs and maybe the intersections. So it's a huge time saver in the field, and I think having these photos for the guys in the office is definitely beneficial to see what the site looks like. And also with Google Earth nowadays, we can view this kind of stuff. So what I'm going to do really quick here is also I'm going to process my panoramas. So we have this option in here. We have multiple things we can do with these photos. We can balance the exposure. So if we look at this photo here, you'll see these different squares, and it's because we have 12 different cameras that we're tying in together, so they're all taken from different views. So we can go in and we can blend these photos a little bit better. We can also go in here and blend the edges, so it'd be, you know, you wouldn't see these lines so much. The colors would change a little bit more. And then we can also create our panorama file, and that's what I'm going to do here for this particular station, 1006, is I'm just going to process the panorama to show you guys what we can do with this photo once we have it. And what it's going to do is it's going to store it into a specific folder on my hard drive under a default folder that Trimble sets up under a users file. I go in here in my Explorer. Actually, my C drive, users, me, my documents, Trimble Business Center. I believe try that again. Bear with me for a second. Try to find where this went. Here we go. So I'm going to open this with Internet Explorer. And what we should get is kind of a walkthrough from that photo station. So I can spin this image around. It's kind of a nice deliverable that you can send off, and anybody can open this photo up and they can look at particular job sites and see the details of that site. This black area would be where we didn't have the cameras facing down. It's pretty much where we stand, so we don't want to get pictures of our heads. So it's just kind of a nice deliverable that you can email to somebody and they can see the site as well. So what I'm going to do here now, I'm going to open up a vision project that I did. This was done with a VX with Vision, and this was just here at the office that I just wanted to locate some points on the building. So once again, we have a plan view. This was just 2 stations that I located stuff from. You can see our cones once again, just like we did in the V10 image. So what I have here, just to kind of show you guys the accuracy as well, I was set up on point number 100, and I took a couple of DR shots with the robot from this one position. And now what I do, I'm going to create a photo point in that same area, just to give you guys a little idea of what the accuracy is. So I'm going to measure a photo point just like we did in the V10. So the same thing. I'll just keep it on the points layer, or actually I'll create a new layer. I'm going to call it photo. And I'll probably change the color just so I can difference between the two. Once again, no feature code library. And I'll go into my pixel picker here. And I'm just going to pick this building corner. And somewhere right around there. I'm going to go over my other station view. And somewhere right around there. We'll compute that as well. So now you can see our 2 points in there. I'm off a little bit, and obviously if you're looking to really get stuff accurate, you'd probably pick it a little bit better. But just for today's purposes, I'm just going to leave it where it's at. Once we have those 2 points in here inside our workflow, we just have a quick inverse tool. So I can go in here and I can inverse between point 1000, point 1000. See how much we're off. Not too bad, actually. My elevation I was off, obviously, because I dropped it down a little bit, or actually up from the actual point. I was off a tenth. But horizontally, I'm only off like 200. So it's pretty accurate. And this position was probably only about 30 feet away. One thing about running the Trimble Vision total stations is different than the V10. There is no processing because we already have our points triangulated in based off our coordinates of our robot. So we know exactly where those photos are at based off those positions. So we don't have to worry about the process or anything like that. We can just go right to work and continue on and just keep picking points along the building or along the parking lot, you know, whatever we want to do as far as locating stuff where we might not be able to get it in the field with the DR, or we want to save the time. So what's our deliverable? So I'm going to kind of jump back and look at that bridge that we had. Where are we going with using TBC and released? I think it's either released today or tomorrow. There's going to be an addition to Trimble Business Center. It'll be 3.21. They're adding in a lot more CAD capability. So currently we do have our CAD tab in here where we can create different line strings and polylines. There's going to be more added to this. I believe it's today or tomorrow, the new release on it. So what we're trying to get to is being able to do a full field to finish with Trimble Business Center and our sensors in the field, and then essentially get to something we can deliver to customers. About a year and a half ago, Trimble purchased something called Google Sketchup. So it's obviously from Google. It's a great tool. It's a free download for the basic version. We can export our data from Trimble Business Center. We can export that out as a SketchUp file. So anything we draw inside Trimble Business Center, we can export that directly out and then do additional work inside SketchUp. I've got a bridge sample that we did here that we brought into SketchUp, and then we just kind of dropped in a background of Google Earth to show kind of an overlay of the bridge itself. But this was all pretty much done in Trimble Business Center and sent out to SketchUp. If anybody have used SketchUp in the past, it's pretty slick. There's so much you can do with it. It's pretty basic, but it's pretty powerful. you can really get detailed with SketchUp, and we have different tools inside here. So if I go into my materials, I can actually go in and add different material surfaces to these models. So I'm just going to pick this concrete block, and it's pretty much just a splash on what you want to kind of wrap in there. So if we look at this, we just created a concrete overlay, and it's pretty realistic looking. You can look at it, and it actually looks like blocks inside there. Also, we can change different tools inside here. Obviously, we have ground cover. There's fencings you can add to it. Asphalt. So if I want to make my road asphalt, I just drop that in there, and it's got an asphalt look to it. So once again, this is kind of a deliverable that we can also email off to a customer, and they can get a better view of our project, whether it's something we're going to create for future work or expansion, or in this particular case, this is for bridge inspection. That's kind of one of the routes we're going at with the V10, is targeting different markets for you guys to go after. We're utilizing this for the condition that our bridges are in the U.S. right now. They're obviously, if anybody watches the news, they're falling down. So the DOTs require inspections once a year. Crews have to go out and document this data. So by bringing this into SketchUp, we can give them a deliverable of the condition of the bridge, and we can tell them that, you know, this concrete's been damaged or whatever. Also, the V10 is being used for crime scene and accident investigations. So it's a huge time saver there as well, where we're not closing the roads, spending a lot of time with a conventional total station locating skid marks and stuff like that. We're getting out, we're taking a photo of the project, and moving on and doing all of our work in the office now inside Trimble Business Center. So something to think about, you know, looking at our different tools that we're using through Trimble Business Center and the SketchUp. I'm going to be putting on probably a full-day class on vision pertaining to the V10 and the vision instruments. I know there's quite a few of you out there that are using vision now on their total stations, and I kind of want to really touch base on that. So we're going to do a whole day class. It probably will be sometime next month, and kind of just going through the workflows of both field and office procedure with that. So keep posted on that if you're interested in sitting in on a full class. It'll be over here in Warrenville. I'm going to hold one, then I'm going to try to get one maybe in a month or two later over in Des Moines, Iowa, somewhere, probably over at Ziegler. So stay tuned for that if you're interested in learning more about the vision. Also, we have an open house coming up in August here in Warrenville that we are going to showcase the V10 as well. So definitely mark your calendar for that. I want to thank everybody's time today, and look forward to you guys logging in for next month's WebEx. Thank you.